Has the moment of truth finally arrived for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Or are we simply bracing for another cruel twist in a narrative of perennial disappointment? For generations, Leafs Nation has clung to the promise of a dynasty, only to be met with the cold reality of early playoff exits and unfulfilled potential. But this summer, the air feels different. It's not just the usual whispers. It's a seismic shift, a tremor beneath the bedrock of the franchise. The offseason has barely begun, and already, 3 earth-shattering announcements have sent shockwaves through the heart of the blue and white. First, Mitch Marner, the hometown hero, is on the precipice of departure. General Manager Brad Treliving's words were stark. Unless something changes drastically, I believe he will hit the market. Then, in a move that blindsided many, the name Joseph Woll, the promising goaltender seen by many as the future, began circulating as a potential trade chip. And now, a new name has burst onto the radar. Dawson Mercer, a dynamic young talent from the New Jersey Devils, who could be the linchpin in a radical top-6 offensive rebuild. These aren't mere rumors. They are undeniable declarations that the Toronto Maple Leafs are on the verge of profound transformation. The core, once deemed untouchable, is fracturing. The stakes have never been higher, and the very future of the storied franchise hinges on the decisions made in the coming days. If you bleed blue and white, hit that like button now and subscribe to the channel, because this is where the pulse of Leafs Nation beats, and where the blueprint for a new era is being etched. In the next few minutes, we'll dissect each of these bombshells, unveiling why this offseason could fundamentally redefine the Toronto Maple Leafs for the next decade. The unceremonious farewell. Mitch Marner's fading blue and white dream. What if Mitch Marner's final, dazzling pass in a Maple Leafs jersey has already been thrown, and we're only now grasping the chilling finality of it? What if the management's stoic silence, the frigid answers, and the resigned sighs of the faithful were, in fact, the prelude to an ending we desperately tried to deny? The truth, as bitter as it tastes, must be spoken. Mitch Marner is leaving the Toronto Maple Leafs. And when a player born and bred in this city, who donned that iconic crest with such pride and poured his soul into every shift, stand at the precipice of departure, the reverberations extend far beyond the rink. This isn't just a trade. It's the closing of a chapter, and perhaps, just perhaps, the inaugural stride towards profound transformation Leafs Nation has yearned for through years of heartache. Rewind to 2015. The name Mitch Marner echoed through Scotiabank Arena as a 4th overall pick in the NHL draft, igniting an explosion of hope. He wasn't merely another talented prospect. He was a Markham kid, steeped in hockey, a lifelong Leafs devotee who grew up dreaming of that very uniform. And he didn't just fulfill that dream. He illuminated it with brilliance. Over 700 points, 520 assists, a litany of elite seasons, individual accolades, and incredible regular season streaks. Marner was a pulsating heart of Toronto's most explosive offense in decades. But there was always an inescapable shadow. The same shadow. The playoffs. Each spring, the grim tableau repeated. Muted performances in the crucible of decisive moments, soul-crushing eliminations, and a gnawing sense that something vital was always missing. It wasn't a deficit of desire. It wasn't a dearth of talent. It was something deeper, something Brad Treliving himself distilled into one chilling pronouncement. There's a DNA that needs to be changed. And perhaps, just perhaps, that DNA begins precisely where no one dared to touch. Mitch Marner. Before we delve deeper, hit that like button and subscribe. This channel is forged by those who share your passion and pain. And brace yourselves, because more arduous decisions loom on the horizon. Just this past Thursday, Brad Treliving, the Leafs general manager, ripped away the veil of suspense. No euphemisms, he declared. Unless something changes drastically, I believe he will hit the market. With those words, he transmuted speculation into stark reality. Mitch Marner, at 28 years old, fresh off a 102-point season, is poised to test the free agent waters when the market opens on July 1st. The mystery has evaporated. The cycle, unceremoniously, is closed. The bond between player and franchise has frayed beyond repair. Throughout the season, Marner rebuffed contract renewal overtures, and when trade negotiations surfaced, he wielded his no-trade clause, famously vetoing a potential move to Carolina Hurricanes involving Martiniquez. Whispers of a three-team deal with the Vegas Golden Knights also faded into nothingness. Control, it seems, remained firmly in Marner's grasp, and he chose to wait. Now, with his contract expiring, he becomes an unrestricted free agent, and the Toronto Maple Leafs face the agonizing prospect of losing one of the franchise's most gifted talent of the last 2 decades without receiving a single asset in return. But what transpired behind the scenes to unravel this relationship? Since Brad Treliving's arrival as GM, the imperative for drastic change became unequivocally clear. Toronto cannot continue to pour vast resources into the same core, expecting a different outcome. And after yet another second-round elimination, punctuated by the underwhelming performances of its stars, the alarm bells shrieked louder than ever. Treliving's DNA comment was no accident. It exposed systemic flaw, a team that dazzles in the regular season but falters under the playoff spotlight. Marner, despite his undeniable talent, became the embodiment of this frustrating narrative. As impressive as the statistics are, the conspicuous absence of leadership in the most critical junctures became an unbearable burden. And when the player himself declines contract extensions and blocks trade offers, the message is unambiguous. He craves freedom. He desires to dictate his next destination. And Toronto, despite its earnest efforts, no longer appears to be part of that future. Now, management's focus is bifurcated, with Marner virtually out of the equation. The Leafs are channeling their energy into re-signing John Tavares, another veteran whose contract nears its conclusion. They also face the crucial task of safeguarding their immediate future, particularly Matthew Knies, the young forward widely seen as a cornerstone of the new generation. Marner's departure isn't merely a technical loss. It's an emotional upheaval. His imminent entry into the market means the Leafs lose a local icon, someone who, perhaps more than anyone else in the locker room, truly understood the profound weight of wearing this jersey in Toronto. Yet, it also liberates cap space, allowing him to reconfigure the roster, recalibrate priorities, and potentially forge a more balanced collective, less reliant on individual stars and better equipped for the brutal crucible of 7-game battles. Still, the haunting question lingers. What if Mitch Marner has a change of heart? What if, at the 11th hour, something drastically shifts as Treliving hinted? The window is narrow, but it exists. Until July 1st, any dramatic reversal remains technically possible. But judging by the prevailing sentiment, it's a faint hope. So, Leafs Nation, it's time to confront reality. Mitch Marner is leaving. And perhaps this isn't an end, but the tumultuous beginning of something entirely new. Do you believe the Leafs should have fought harder to retain him? Or was this an inevitable, necessary separation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The unforeseen sacrifice. Joseph Woll as a trade chip? What if the future, so vividly imagined by the faithful, is about to vanish before it even fully materializes? What if the promising goaltender, the very name that symbolized stability and renewal for the Maple Leafs, is now entangled in the most shocking rumor of this offseason? No one saw this coming, but according to insider David Pagnotta, a new name has entered the heated backroom discussions in Toronto: Joseph Woll. In a summer already brimming with tension over Mitch Marner and Tyler Bertuzzi, the spotlight has abruptly shifted. It's no longer solely about shedding high-priced offensive contracts, but about what Toronto might be willing to sacrifice, truly sacrifice, to win now. And when that sacrifice involves your goaltender of the future, the message resonates with chilling clarity. The era of patience is over. The singular priority is victory. Joseph Woll was never just another name on the Leafs roster. He represented a long-term, calculated gamble by the franchise. While Toronto cycled through a carousel of goaltenders, spending draft picks, cap space, and hope, Woll was a quiet, meticulous project, honing his craft within the organization. Every NHL appearance offered a tantalizing glimpse of promise. He could be the one, the steady presence who would finally anchor a position perpetually plagued by instability. Yet, that blooper was never straightforward. Injuries, like unwelcome guests, consistently knocked on his door. Woll flashed incredible moments of brilliance and consistency, but never remained healthy long enough to firmly establish himself. And over the years, Leafs Nation began to acknowledge that his future might not be as guaranteed as it once seemed. Still, the underlying strategy was clear. Nurture Wall, develop him, and when ready, possess the ideal goaltender for a championship window. But that window, it seems, is rapidly closing. And when patience and time transform into luxuries, even the most meticulously crafted plans become mere trade chips. What initially appeared to be a predictable summer for the Leafs took an unexpected turn when David Pagnotta, a respected NHL insider, revealed that Joseph Woll was being actively considered as a potential trade piece. And make no mistake, this isn't random speculation. It's a resounding declaration that Toronto's management is prepared to fundamentally re-engineer the roster's very structure. For weeks, media attention fixated on names like Mitch Marner and Tyler Bertuzzi, high salaries, questionable playoff performances, the usual suspects. But injecting Woll into conversation exposes a far more strategic calculus. The Leafs' desperate need to finally bolster what has been a gaping void in the roster for years, the center position, particularly with John Tavares aging in the third and fourth lines, consistently lacking offensive punch. Management views the center ice as the weakest link in their chain, and if the only path to fortifying that weakness involves surrendering a young, promising asset, the Leafs appear ready to walk it. This potential trade doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's inextricably linked to a profound shift in the team's internal philosophy. Since the bitter playoff elimination, it became abundantly clear that the Leafs can no longer subsist on almost. They possess talent, they have the pieces, but there's a glaring absence of balance, a crippling lack of answers in the most critical moments. This is where Craig Berube, the new general manager, steps in. Berube brings a no-nonsense, results-driven mentality, an unwavering focus on immediate impact. There is no luxury of waiting 2 or 3 years for a promising goaltender if, in that interim, the fleeting Stanley Cup window slams shut. Berube has already begun to orchestrate his moves. Matt Murray was re-signed for another year. Yes, that same Matt Murray, veteran, experienced, a goaltender who understands the unforgiving crucible of playoff pressure. Simultaneously, Swedish prospect Dennis Hildeby has been steadily ascending, showcasing consistent growth in the minors and earning significant respect behind the scenes. With these two pieces now firmly in the picture, the scenario shifts dramatically. Joseph Woll ceases to be untouchable and becomes surprisingly viable. And what if it could fetch a second or third line center who can step in immediately, produce points, defend diligently, and finally balance the attack? For a franchise that has lost so many pivotal series due to a glaring lack of depth, such a piece might be infinitely more valuable than a goaltender with a persistent injury history. Let's explore the potential scenarios. Scenario 1. Woll is traded. Toronto acquires productive center, perhaps on a short-term deal, perhaps with significant upside. This acquisition could fundamentally alter the dynamic of the third line, which often disappears in the playoffs. Berube then gambles on the Murray plus Hildeby tandem in goal, maintaining a tighter cap structure and creating flexibility for other acquisitions. Scenario 2. Woll remains. Toronto retains the asset, continues to hope he overcomes his physical ailments, and that he will indeed become a foundational pillar in the coming years. But in this scenario, the team remains vulnerable at center, and the championship window narrative becomes increasingly complicated. The dilemma is stark. Continue betting on a distant future, or make the painful sacrifice now to compete fiercely for the ultimate prize. Remember, the Leafs are operating under immense pressure. External expectations are mounting. The roster carries the heavy weight of past failures. And management understands that one more early elimination could irrevocably shatter the current cycle. Joseph Woll isn't merely a goaltender. He is the poignant symbol of a crossroads between what the Leafs aspire to be and what they desperately need to become right now. So, fan, do you believe the future still runs through Woll, or do you think it's time to look ahead, even if it means parting ways with truly promising talent? Share your thoughts below. This channel is a collective voice of Leafs Nation, and every opinion here helps forge this challenging new path. The creative solution, Dawson Mercer, a new identity for the Leafs? When a cornerstone of your offense stands poised to depart, the immediate instinct is to seek answers. But when the free agent market offers nothing but a barren landscape, you're forced to innovate. You must transcend conventional thinking, embrace risk, and dare to be different. And that precisely is the audacious gamble the Toronto Maple Leafs appear ready to take. With Mitch Marner's presence in Toronto growing increasingly ephemeral, the spotlight has swung dramatically to a fresh face, Dawson Mercer of the New Jersey Devils. He may not yet be a marquee name, but he might just be the precise antidote the Leafs desperately need right now. Youth, blistering speed, insatiable hunger, and boundless room to grow. The rumor is still nascent, a mere whisper, but it's rapidly gaining momentum. And amidst this pivotal offseason, Mercer's potential arrival could fundamentally reshape the team's very identity. Is it finally time for Toronto to cast aside the worn-out script and begin writing a bold, new story? The saga between Toronto and Mitch Marner was, for years, one of the most emotionally charged narratives in modern NHL history. The local boy, plucked high in the draft, embodying the fervent hopes of a city ravenous for victory. He wore the jersey with unwavering pride, dazzled, captivated, but also carried the indelible scars of repeated playoff failures. Season after season, the same agonizing script unfolded. Stratospheric expectations, underwhelming performances when it mattered most, and soul-crushing early eliminations. And as painful as it is to admit, the time has come to turn the page. In a recent press conference, General Manager Brad Treliving's words were unequivocal. Unless there is a significant change, I expect he will hit the market. The translation is clear: Marner is leaving. And the stark reality is, the free agent market is a barren wasteland. There simply aren't enough impact players available to replace a talent who just put up 102 points last season. It is into this gaping void that the tantalizing possibility of a trade emerges. Not for an established superstar, but for someone poised to make the leap. Dawson Mercer is just 23 years old, boasts a 27-goal season on his resume, and according to astute analysts, he is firmly on the Leafs' radar. If you're enjoying this deep dive, hit that like button now and subscribe, because this summer could prove to be the most transformative in Toronto's last decade, and you'll witness every single development right here. Mercer's name first began circulating through the insightful analysis of Anthony Petrielli from Maple Leafs Hot Stove. According to Petrielli, the Leafs could view Mercer as an internal solution for their top six, particularly if he's deployed as a center alongside William Nylander. He played well as a center, Petrielli noted. I'd be curious to see him alongside Nylander for half a season and assess his progress. He elaborated further. Young players who can skate and put the puck in the net are always attractive. Mercer is still young enough to believe there is much more to discover. In essence, the Leafs might not merely be seeking an immediate like-for-like replacement, but rather a developing asset with significant potential to flourish within Toronto's system. Last season, Mercer tallied 19 goals and 17 assists for 36 points in 82 games. However, in 2022-23, he exploded for 56 points and 27 goals, unequivocally demonstrating the raw talent is there, even with a recent dip in production. And with 2 years remaining on a team-friendly $12 million contract, Mercer also aligns perfectly with Toronto's crucial salary cap control objectives. Mercer's unexpected availability stems from another unfolding narrative: the New Jersey Devils' sweeping restructuring. Insider Nick Kypreos revealed that GM Tom Fitzgerald is demanding profound changes to his roster. "We're not bringing back the same group," Fitzgerald stated emphatically. This overhaul has already commenced with the departure of Eric Howla, traded to the Nashville Predators. But Kypreos went further. Dawson Mercer appeared on my trade bait list and remains there in the second version. According to Kypreos, despite his youth and undeniable promise, Mercer might genuinely benefit from a change of scenery, a fresh environment, new responsibilities, a franchise where he can assume a more prominent role. Toronto, with Marner's impending departure, could be that ideal destination. The Leafs not only gain significant cap space, but also face a clear void in their offensive rotation. And for Craig Berube, a coach who champions youth combined with tactical responsibility, Mercer would be an ideal project, moldable, disciplined, and already possessing valuable NHL experience. Let's calmly dissect what Mercer truly represents at this pivotal juncture. He is not an immediate one-for-one replacement for Marner, but he could be an integral piece of a collective, multifaceted solution. Mercer's versatility is a key asset. He can seamlessly transition between center and wing. He possesses a keen scoring touch, exceptional skating ability, and a knack for operating effectively at high speed. A style that perfectly complements Nylander could also mesh seamlessly with the likes of Knies or Robertson. Unlike more expensive gambles or inconsistent veterans, Mercer offers a rare combination. Untapped potential at an incredibly affordable price point. Toronto desperately needs this. The team is perpetually burdened by salary cap constraints and simply cannot afford to repeat the costly mistakes of previous years, handing out exorbitant contracts to big names who consistently fail to deliver in the playoffs. With Mercer, the franchise signals a fundamental shift in strategy. It sheds a win-now-at-all-cost mentality and embraces a new mindset. Let's intelligently build a new competitive core. Furthermore, his 2 remaining years on his contract mean he's not merely a short-term rental. He's a piece with ample time to integrate, evolve, and potentially become a foundational pillar of the Leafs' new identity. Trading Marner is an agonizing decision. It means relinquishing a symbol, but time has marched on. Opportunities were squandered, and the current roster's competitive ceiling appears to have been definitively reached. With Mercer, Toronto isn't betting on nostalgia. It's betting on genuine renewal. The franchise no longer needs a name steeped in history. It desperately needs someone who embodies a future. Mercer, who will turn 24 next season, represents precisely that. A new phase where the unwavering focus is on cultivating a team with its own distinct identity, unshackled from established names who, in practical terms, have already given all they possibly could. And if Berube, Trailerving, and the management team nailed this bold gamble, the Leafs might finally forge a different backbone, younger, lighter, and undeniably more competitive. Now, Leafs Nation, the puck is in your zone. Do you believe Dawson Mercer would be a shrewd bet for the new Toronto, or should the franchise pursue a safer, albeit potentially more expensive alternative? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters. And this trade, if it materializes, will undoubtedly divide hearts. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, because in our next video, we'll meticulously analyze what the Leafs could realistically offer the Devils in this blockbuster trade. Who goes, who stays, and what it all means for the pivotal 2024-25 season. The summer began with a deceptive calm, but it's heating up at a blistering pace. And Mercer could be the monumental first step for a team that finally learns to win in April, or the inaugural misstep of another ill-fated rebuild. The only certainty. The coming days will irrevocably define the Leafs' future for years to come.